2/3 said it wouldn't happen, and yet here we are. Hey there, and welcome back to Bald Prairie Real Estate. My name is Matthew Pfeifer, real estate agent in Regina. That's my trusted assistant, Matilda. This is the weekly news recap here on Bald Prairie Real Estate, where I go through the most interesting Canadian real estate related news topics, give you my thoughts and opinions on it. For my regular viewers, I know you guys are probably wondering where the heck I have been. I haven't been doing these as regularly as I usually do. Well, there's two reasons for that. One, the market here is crazy busy this spring and I've been just simply run off my feet. And two, if I'm going through the week and I just don't think there's a lot of interesting Canadian real estate news topics to go over for these videos, I'm just not going to put out a video for the sake of putting a video, so I want to make sure that's good, solid content for you. And I'm also focusing back on getting into the more educational topics that I used to do to give you guys some more insight into the market and keep you kind of knowledgeable as to what's going on. But of course, let's start off with another one of my terrible bad dad jokes before we get into it. Why can't a leopard hide? Because they're always spotted. If you have a terrible joke that I can use in a future episode, put it in the comments below. Let's get into this week's news. Let's start off by getting into the Rentals.ca rent report for the month of June here. Unfortunately, for those looking to rent a place in Canada, you probably noticed that rent continues to increase. It's now over $2,200 a month. This is the first time ever that rent has gone over that $2,200 a month barrier. For those that are in Vancouver and Toronto, a little bit of a reprieve as both of those cities are seeing year-over-year decreases in rent, and that's been for a couple of months now, so good news on that front. Real quick pause here. If you're thinking about buying a house in Regina, obviously I'd love to help you out, but if you're somewhere else in Canada, don't worry, I can get you set up with a perfect real estate agent that'll handpick for you. If you check out the description of this video, you're going to see a link to my calendar where you can book me in for an agent recommendation consultation. I'll give you a call, learn about what's important to you in a house, in a real estate agent, and I'll get you set up with that perfect agent in your market. And now let's get back to the video. The more affordable markets in Canada, with the prairies and also in Quebec specifically, they're seeing some of the largest year-over-year increases. We've got Regina up 15%, Saskatoon is up 13%, Edmonton is up 16%, Quebec City up 12% year-over-year. I'm expecting nationally for prices to continue to increase as they seasonally would. So usually you're going to see rent increases probably top out in that July type time frame, and they'll soften the back half of the year. Going into the later half of the year and into next year, I think we will hopefully see kind of the peak for rent prices, as the government has promised that they're basically going to try to slow down immigration. Of course, they have to actually keep that promise. And if that does happen, we might see a little bit of stability in the rental market. They've also promised to build a significant number of homes, something like 550,000 this year. They're not going to hit anywhere near that, looking like it's going to be less than 200,000. So we're still going to continue to see a shortage of homes in Canada, specifically in purpose-built rentals, and that's going to keep prices elevated, I expect. Next, let's talk about mortgage delinquency rates in Canada. Unsurprisingly, mortgage delinquency rates continue to rise in Canada. I expect that trend to continue into the foreseeable future. Right now, though, it's 0.19%, or roughly 9,000 mortgages of the 5.5 million in Canada. Pre-pandemic, it was 0.3% roughly, by the way. Interestingly enough, BC and Ontario are the two provinces that continue to see the lowest delinquency rates in the country, 0.15% for BC, 0.13% for Ontario. Now, when I'm checking out the Twitter sphere and looking at other YouTube channels, I see a lot of what I will consider fear-mongering of how many foreclosure listings have come up for sale in Toronto. They're going through the roof. Saw in a stat, for example, there were 300 foreclosure listings in Toronto right now. Yes, 300 of roughly 22,000 active listings, or about 1% of all the active listings. Interesting enough, when I went back and kind of went through the monthly stats, that's actually pretty consistent across the board for the last couple of years. About 1% of the active listings in Toronto or foreclosure sales. So as the active listings have increased, so too have the foreclosures at approximately a proportionate rate. I do expect we're going to continue to see more foreclosures coming into the future as people struggle with higher interest rates. Yes, they've dropped them. We'll talk about that in a second here. If you are thinking about buying a foreclosure house in Canada, I've got a video I just did on that, kind of what the process is, what to expect, and are they actually good deals or not. I'll put the link to that in the description and one of those pop-up cards so you can check out that video next. Now let's talk about the June 2024 Bank of Canada rate announcement, where finally mortgage rates were dropped for the first time in 4 years. So that means prices to the moon, better by now, right? Of course, I'm a realtor, I have to say that. No, I don't think that's going to happen here. Interestingly, 57% of you in my poll said that interest rates were going to be held at the current rate. 36% said a drop. 7% said rates were going to go up. I thought that was interesting. But we saw a 0.25%, 25 basis points drop. Phil Soper, president of Royal LePage, that's the company I work for. There you go. Well, he had said this was going to have a material impact on sales and pushing prices up. I'm not going to go there. I've often disagreed with Phil in times in the past, but that's what he had put out recently. I think it was a Globe Mail article that he had said that in. I do think it will have maybe some little bit of an impact. I'm not really ready to say, yep, floodgates are going to open, buyers are going to be jumping off the fence. The Bank of Canada, though, does look like it's kind of now started that rate cutting cycle. They generally do go in cycles. So that is kind of signaling to the market that's the direction they're going. And they were talking about that in the press conference. Again, remember, they're basing all of this on what they're seeing in the data, specifically with inflation. So if inflation continues to drop, expect the Bank of Canada will also continue to drop rates. If it starts ticking back up, they're likely to increase or at least put a pause on things and hold things where they're at. So just, again, go with what the data says. Inflation will likely continue to drop just because we're going to see the effects of these higher interest rates start to fall off, as it's been more than a year since they've been increasing them. So that naturally will cause a little bit of that inflation to come down, because that's been a fairly significant portion of the inflation. But where interest rates go from here? Well, I said in my predictions video that I thought we would see a quarter cut every single meeting through the balance of the year, leaving us down 1.25% by the end of the year. So let me know what you guys think, though. Do you think we're going to continue to see rate cuts? Let me know in the comments below. And where are we going to end up the year at interest rates? Let me know where you think the Bank of Canada is going to be, and where do you think fixed rates are going to be, because obviously that's going to be two different questions. We've seen fixed rates have been kind of hovering around that low 5s right now. The bond rate dropped a little bit when the Bank of Canada came out with those announcements, so we might see a little bit of drop in fixed rates. So let me know in the comments below where you guys think Bank of Canada is going to be, and where you think fixed rates are going to be through the course of the year. That's a wrap for this week here. Watch this video, which is what YouTube algorithm says you should watch next. If you love this video, please give this video a like, comment in the comment section below. Chatting with you guys there. And as always, thanks very much for watching.